Today, again, we're really fortunate to have four awesome alumni come back and visit us. So I'm really excited to introduce them. A lot of them were at my students at one point. Again, like I said, it's just really great to have them come back and be able to talk to all of you as you prepare for going into finals and going into spring show. Many of you that are graduating as well, you're preparing your portfolio, your graduation portfolio. So it's something that, again, we're really excited by the panelists that we have here today to share with you all. So again, welcome to our Alumni Roundtable. Our topic for today will be launching your career. Our four panelists today are going to be Aaron Powers, who works at Nike, Ali Musavi, who works at Stellantis, Jack Liu, works with him, his partner in crime, works at Stellantis. And then we also have Yael Shaw, who works at Whipsaw, one of the more distinguished consultancies here in the Bay Area. So with that said, I just want to go through introductions really quickly. We'll switch over. We'll start off with Aaron, since you're on the top left there. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself. I know many of us already know you from previous events, but like to reintroduce you to our new students as well.
Sure, I can be pretty brief. My name's Aaron Powers. I'm originally from Sacramento, California. Graduated from AAU in 2016, just industrial design in the product design kind of sphere. I currently work at Nike. I'm on the kids footwear design team. And also on what we call the studio team. So stretch into a lot of different categories from women's sportswear to men's sportswear, some track and field, just a lot of random stuff. And that's kind of a quick introduction to me.
So awesome. Thank you, Aaron, for that. We'll move on to Jack next.
Hey, everyone. My name is Jack. I graduated from school in 2015. And went straight to Detroit here. So now I'm working at Stellantis as an interior design. I went to school for exterior originally, but then ended up being interior. So it was a pretty big change, but also very, very fun. And been there since 2016. So going on past 5 years now. And it's been pretty great, busy, but it's very rewarding. And here I am.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. And then we'll move over to your partner in crime, Ali.
Hey, everyone. My name's Ali Musavi. I also work at Stellantis, just to reiterate. My role on the team is I work in the Dodge studio in the exterior design department. And yeah, man, Jack and I are just rocking it. And yeah, I'm glad to be here and I look forward to answering all your questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Ali. And then last but not least, we have Yael Shaw.
Yeah, Yael Shaw at Whipsaw, graduated 2016, spent a few years in startup world and then went to Whipsaw, been there just about 3 years now. And I'm doing industrial design and project management. So dabbling, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Awesome. That's the best way to learn when you're forced to wear multiple hats.
That's true. Absolutely.
All right. So, we'll jump into our first, topic of today. Basically, first question that we have for you is, what steps did you take when you were approaching graduation to prepare yourself for landing your current position? So we will start off with Ali. We'll start off with you tonight.
Okay. So one of the main steps, obviously, is the portfolio. I had to make sure that the portfolio was the best that it could be. Every page was flawless. Every project was flawless. And then to accompany that portfolio, I needed experience. So I had to have some internships under my belt. When I was in school, that's what I was hungry for. That's what I strived for. I had to get my foot into those internships because I knew that was the key, getting that experience. So alongside of having that portfolio is that experience. And then yeah, just doing well in the interviewing process. The companies would come, every now and then, and they would interview us right there in the office in the warehouse. And it was important to be yourself, show who you are, and show the work that you're capable of. And that ultimately was what prepared me for the job.
So if I can have you elaborate on, again, preparing a portfolio, was that something that was done overnight? Is that something that was done in process? Like, how did you yourself motivated, I guess, to continue to work on it?
Yeah, so it was a very slow process, and I didn't really start putting it together until I was in transportation 1. That's when I started thinking about it. I didn't even know at that time what a portfolio really looked like, but I knew that I had to start collecting the best parts of my work. And as I went through the years, I would cycle out things. I would eventually outgrow, the work that I did from the previous year, and I would keep filtering in the newest and best projects, and the best storylines and the best sketches to make it the best that it can be. So yeah, by all means, it's not an overnight process. It's a gradual, slow build up to your ultimate, work that speaks to who you are as a designer.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and let's move on to Aaron. Aaron, if you can give us some insight on this, on some of the things that you did to prepare yourself.
Yeah, I think Ali hit kind of the portfolio is super important, the internships. I think for me, I would set these 6 to 12 month goals of what I wanted to do next. And then I would solely focus on what that goal would be. So for instance, when I was a sophomore, I said I wanted to do footwear design. So I set a 6 month, I'm going to focus on exactly how to get into the footwear industry, tailored the portfolio towards that, took some extracurricular projects, even some classes through Pencil, which is a footwear academy, and then landed an internship, got that experience and learned, hey, what I liked, what I didn't like, and then would come back home and say okay, what else do I want to try while I'm a student? What's kind of the next step? And I just kind of did that throughout the 3 to 4 years after freshman year, of just having a focus on something really sharp and then reevaluating and then coming back in. And so I always had not necessarily one trajectory, but I was just constantly adapting and changing to what I felt worked for me.
It's awesome that you, to hear you say that you broke it up into smaller goals as well too, rather than having this giant overarching goal that kind of feels unattainable at first. Just breaking it down into segments and achieving those one at a time. I think that was a really, really smart way to again prepare yourself mentally for that as well. Let's see here. We'll have Jack go next.
For me personally, one of the steps I took to prepare myself in getting a job is to, really dig into your own personal style and try to find out what it is that your personal style is, because everyone in the Cardinal Street studio, you can really notice whose style is what. When you see someone sketch on the wall, you know exactly who that belongs to. And I think, a big part of having a portfolio is to have an identity of your own, because if you have something that is very similar to someone else, then it all blends in. So you want to find your own groove, your own, niche. And don't be afraid to kind of step out of the box and be a little bit more, pushing the boundary and scare the person that's looking at a portfolio. Because speaking from an automotive industry perspective, a lot of times the cars that have the most impact on us are the ones that were we didn't like at first, we're very uncomfortable, but it really sticks with you. So I think that philosophy, that type of thinking can also be applied to portfolios. So be yourself, don't be afraid to, be a little scary and make a statement of your own. And I think once you find that job, then you'll be good. It might take a while, but it's going to be worth the wait. And don't be afraid that it's going to take some time.
So I think, again, that's also really great to hear you say that, not afraid to be yourself, right? Like, know that your portfolio is going to be unique to you. I think sometimes students can mistake a benchmark for just, doing something similar to it. And so it's like, it's still at the end of the day has to represent who you are as a designer, because when an employer is looking at your work and they're hiring you because of the work that you showed them, that's what they're going to expect when you start with them. So, if you showed something that's really not you, it can become an issue, once you make it in the door, but it can become an issue once you are in there in the studio. And so again, I think that's really wise of you to share that, and for the students, again, I definitely encourage you all to really take heed to that message that, don't be afraid to be yourself. Companies are hiring designers from all around the world because they want their studios to be filled with people with different perspectives. So don't try to go and, create a portfolio that you feel is what they're looking for, or you feel like it appeals to the norm. So again, really, really good feedback, Jack. Thank you for that. All right. And Yao, if we can have you give your insights as well, please.
Yeah, definitely. I think I can talk to kind of the other side. These guys really touched well on portfolio and just, I guess, the kind of the fundamentals and the technical side. For me, something I didn't figure out till like a year after I graduated, which I really wish I would have, was the importance of networking. And more importantly, just building kind of like an industry, like friend group, like people, they could be people you didn't know before. They could be, people also into Academy of Art. They could be totally new people. You just like shot a message on LinkedIn and started talking to them. If I'd known that in school, I would have started way earlier, going to events, going to virtual, webinars, everything, just meeting people, seeing the faces in the industry, faces of the company, where I want to work. My path was pretty unconventional by some degrees, because I just went into a startup that I was already working at my last semester. I was definitely tightening up my portfolio, trying to get the projects, ready for consultancy work, which is where I knew I wanted to end up. But I definitely dealt with a lot of, rejection at first, something that is not easy, but once you get, I guess, numb to it, once you understand that it's more of like a critique of where you need to go and how far away you are from it, it helps you kind of like put that into perspective a little bit, and work on your weaknesses. And for me, networking was a huge weakness. I didn't know anyone. All I had were my school friends. I never stepped outside my comfort zone. So I started going to events. I went to an event at Whipsaw where I work now. I talked to a few senior designers. I talked to Dan, the founder, for an hour after the event. And I just got to know people. And at the same time, I was strengthening my skill set, and it all kind of merged at the right time for me. So there's definitely a little bit of an element of luck, but a lot of it was really just hard work.
But you had the portfolio ready when that moment did come for you to be able to sit down with leadership in the industry and be able to review your work. And that's one thing that again, I definitely want to remind all the students of. And
absolutely.
Again, you bring up a great point too, and networking. I mean, now it's so much easier than it was, a few years back. But with LinkedIn and Instagram, it's easy to make connections and keep connections with different people in the industry, and and reach out and talk with them. Getting feedback, making yourself vulnerable. I found that that's really the key too as well, because a lot of times I think sometimes students can be a little bit apprehensive. They feel like their portfolio is not ready, or they don't want to leave a bad impression. but a lot of times just kind of, showing something in progress and saying, hey, this is where I'm at, and I'd love to get some feedback. That's something that definitely you would find that most professionals are going to be willing to give you some time and give feedback to you and then help you with that. Much more so than the person who's coming with the approach that they already know what they need and they just need you to sign off on it, right? So definitely, again, your approach to industry is also going to be really important, moving forward. So with that, if students, feel free, again, raise your hand. I will call on you if you have certain questions on this topic. If there are no questions on this topic, I'm just going to keep it moving. The next question here is going to be, what part of the job interview process surprised you the most when you were going through it? And Aaron, your box lit up first, so that means your light bulb went off. We'll get you started on this one.
Gosh, that's a tough question. I guess every interview for every single job is different. And so I think that's the process that surprised me the most, maybe, is that you really don't know what you're going into. You don't know. Sometimes you know the people that are going to be in that room. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you think it's going to be one person. Sometimes you think it's going to be 5 and it's 1. So I think like that's definitely the biggest surprise for me. I think a lot of the times once you get the interview, at that point, it's not even about your work. A lot of the times it's about now, how do you present the work? What ideas are you sharing that talk to the work? Also, who are you, how you present yourself? I guess I've always found that the weird niche things that you might say, I'm interested in this thing, or I was inspired by this thing, are the things that people really hook onto as well. I remember the interviewer for Nike was like a really big music guy. And so I had a project that was related to music, and that's what hooked him and kind of got me that like first step through the door. And you just kind of never know what people are interested in. And if you don't share what you're interested in, they'll never know like what might make you special or unique. So I think that part is surprising, to not just, I'm an introverted kind of closed off person, but being able to share the more vulnerable things of just what you're interested in, what your quirks are, can be a positive.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. I still remember when you first told me the story of, that project, which, when we look at your portfolio, quite frankly, there's a lot of other projects that had a lot more flash and had a lot more process behind them and everything. But it's interesting, like you said, all it takes is that one little hook. And, a lot of times, people do latch on to the things that you don't expect. So, great story. And thanks for sharing that with us. Ali, we'll have you go next as well.
Okay. So the surprising part for me during the interview process, to reiterate a little bit what Aaron was talking about, was that the interview process wasn't solely based on the work itself. They were interested in who you were as a person, and if they were kind of screening you to see if you would be a good fit for the team. So going in, as a student, you're a little bit nervous. I remember being extremely nervous and rambling through my projects, but I had to remember to like breathe and calm down, and, because you wanted to present the work well, but you also wanted to show who you were. So for me, that was the surprising part that I learned after the interview process itself.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. We'll have you go next.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Aaron and Ali touched really well on the cultural side of it. It's so important. Yeah, for me, I kind of found that I felt I did better in interviews when I had one project that I knew like the back of my hand, something I could talk about for 10, 15 minutes at a time, which is tough to say about most projects I had in school. Luckily, the thesis students have some little bit of an edge up there, but I think for anyone, it just really helps to pour your heart into one project, and hopefully it's your most recent one, so you think it's your best work. I've had people say, present one project, and I was lucky that I had one that I could talk about for a while. And it should be one that's important to you, like as a person, as a designer, shows off the versatility of your skill set, something that hopefully meshes well with the type of place you want to interview or interviewing with. And I think the interviewer will see, the level of knowledge that you have in a specific area, and that you've put the time in to really understand, hopefully, an entire, industry or market that product's designed in. You understand how it fits in not just a design sense, but maybe you understand how it's engineered and manufactured. Maybe you understand how it's marketed or branded. There's dimensionality to products, especially in the consultancy side of things, because we're not our own client. We work with other people. We work with a large range of Fortune 500 companies down to a 3-person startup and everything in between. I guess for consultancy interviews, you really want to be able to demonstrate the ability to design for a brand and your knowledge of that brand.
Yeah, no, and again, you bring up a good point in the sense that also depending who you're interviewing with, there's going to be different strengths that they'll be looking for in your portfolio. So it's good to have a project that allows you to pivot to all those different strengths that they're going to be interested in. I mean, it is one of the reasons why we do ask students to make sure that they cover the process. A lot of times I think one of the things that students can dwell on is just like the renderings at the end, right? Having like 5 pages of just hot renderings. And you quickly realize that what the people who are interviewing you focus on most is the process. And that tells them like the journey that you took to get to the design. So that's definitely, like I said, it definitely is great to hear that. And again, I think that it also, that's very unique. That's actually the first time I've heard like someone say, just present one project. Usually you're allowed to present 1 or 2, maybe even 3. But yeah, I mean, that puts a lot of pressure. And like you said, thankfully, being that it's, I hope in your case, it was the thesis project, you were able to have a lot to say about it because you spent so much time working on it. So we'll move on to Jack.
One thing that surprised me the most from my interview was just how casual and how organic it was. You go online right now and try to find like how to behave properly in an interview, but what I realized for myself is that those advice, they're good, but then when it comes to actually interviewing for these car companies, these designers are just like you and I. They're very, very down to earth. They just want to have conversations about design and your pieces. So to put it all into perspective, like just imagine you're interviewing someone else. What do you want to hear from them, and how do you want to connect with this person? So what I realized is that going into an interview, as a student, we tend to overthink things, trying to see how much they like our stuff, how much they are interested. But I think, just feel it out. And if the conversation goes wherever, then just go with it, because like what Ali and Aaron have said, they just want to get to know you as a person. So I think when you go into an interview, just go in there with an, nice open mind and don't overthink it. And at the end of the day, they're just trying to feel you out as a person.
I think don't like rehearse it either. It doesn't need
Yeah.
to be, you need to be prepared, but not rehearsed. Cause like the second someone throws the wrench in and asks, about a project you weren't prepared for and you wanted to rehearse for 15 minutes, you're
Well, for everybody listening in, Jack was the most worried person before the interview. We have an office next door, and I watched them waiting for your turn, and Jack was so nervous.
He left some dents in the carpet.
Yeah, always pacing. Yeah.
He was nervous, but never showed that much of it. Just a little pale. That's about it.
I mean, all of us were nervous, right before the interview, and then now that I'm on the other side of the table, it's like, why was I even nervous?
Yeah.
It's because you overthink it. You overthink what is going to happen in there. And then when you get in there, you're totally thrown off because it wasn't what you thought it was. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that kind of segues naturally into our next question, which is, again, what mindset do you recommend, for students to have when going into an interview? I know, Aaron, obviously you touched on it a little bit. There's a difference between being prepared and being rehearsed. And, one is not really, it's not to say it's not genuine, but it's not really who you are, because, you yourself in your natural state, you can be prepared for an interview, but it really is going to reflect more on you and how you're able to adapt if you're able to ask questions organically and not have to go through an actual sheet. So, with that, I mean, that's something that I'd love for you to also touch on. Yeah, we'll have you start on this one. What's a good recommendation you have for the type of mindset to have when going in for your interview?
Yeah, I would say be confident in your design and your decision-making process. I mean, how you got there better than anyone. So there's no reason to suddenly doubt your decisions then, which just goes back to the process, right? If you follow the fundamentals, you design with purpose, you're always going to get there with good decision-making, with, logic-based reasoning. And the interview is really just kind of like you're peering into someone's mind of how they think, how they design, how they come up with, products and innovate and kind of push themselves. So yeah, be confident. It's tough. I mean, everyone sweats and gets nervous, wear a shirt that doesn't stain on the pits. I don't know. There's all sorts of things, to try and exude confidence. And at the same time, right, it's a fine line. Don't be overconfident. Understand that you're coming into a company where you're the least experienced person. So if you can demonstrate a willingness to learn and listen well, I think that goes a long way too.
Awesome. All great tips. And, I hope, again, the students are taking notes and just kind of mentally capturing these, these great suggestions. With that said, we'll have Jack go next, we'll have Jack go next, and then Ali, and then followed by Aaron. Adam, I see you there. I'm going to pick on you in a little bit.
Not a problem. I can answer a lot of questions, especially for students and juniors, and just the gamut that I put them through.
Yeah. All right, Jack.
All right. So definitely the mindset that I had put myself in before interview was, just be open to whatever happens, right? Because if you're always expecting this interview to work out, then if it doesn't, you're just setting yourself up for disaster. So I'm not saying that going in with the negative mindset, but just go in there with, with mindset that whatever happens and it happens, don't take it so personally. It's not you, and it's just that they might not be in line with what your work is showing. And so I think, don't always be so hard on yourself if something doesn't work out, because, think about it this way, like you as a student don't like everything you see that someone else is working on, right? So the same thing for designers. It's like we're all very specific in what we want, what we, in our taste and our preferences. So just gotta wait and be patient for that right company to choose you. And that's the mindset I would say you have to be in before going in there.
Awesome.
Right.
Jack.
Yeah, and I'm going to just reiterate on that, being open-minded and being keyword being confident in your work, captivate them as you're going through your project, and yeah, I think we touched all the bases on the mindset for going into the interview process. I just remember, not going in there with any expectations, like how what Jack said, if you build up this narrative of what's going to go down in that room, it might not work out well for you, so just be open and ready for anything, and wear a smile for sure. Don't think it's going to be so serious, and yeah, just have positive energy when you're in there. That's I think the best advice that I can give you.
I like it. Have positive energy. That's awesome. I mean, I remember that's one of the things that you exuded in all your presentations, Ali. Again, if you're not the most excited one in the room for your work, then you have something to work on. So that's definitely, again, really good advice there. Aaron, we'll have you go next, and then Adam, let's hear from you after Aaron.
Yeah, I would say this might be a bad reference, but like go on it as if it was a date, maybe. Like the thing is I think we've touched on if you want to work at the company,
yeah,
you want them to choose you, but also remember that like you want to choose them as well. And you want to find out, I think when you're early on and you're trying to get as much experience as possible, you might take everything that comes your way. And I think certainly that like you gather a lot of experience, but when you start to choose like, hey, where's my career going, or that like first or second job, you now have some sort of leverage to say like, I think you're going in to find out, is this a good fit for you as well? And having those questions ready to ask to find out if it is a good fit for you. Because I would say there's not a worse feeling than taking something that didn't feel right and then sitting in the desk the first day, like taking that job that you just took the first thing that came your way, and then you really didn't want that.
Yeah,
is a really bad feeling.
Yeah, no, that's certain. Again, it is just as much about the company as it is about you. You have to make sure you're a good fit for sure. Adam, anything to add? So Adam, by the way, is joining us as one of our esteemed alumni, as well as one of our former instructors as well. Yeah, we're really, I'm really happy to see you today. It's a nice surprise. I'm gonna, bring you into this table and keep you here if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I love these events. So I like snuck my way in. I was like, hey, I need the link for this so I could kind of add my 2 cents. And I love Aaron. He was one of my students. So I was like, I got to hear from this guy. So I think everybody touched on a couple of the elements that I drive home when I like to see in portfolios. One is brand. I don't care what the project was. If you could connote the brand through, and Aaron knows this, like give me the brand first, and especially for consultancy work, like I need to see you ditch your ego, burn it alive, and then show me what Pepsi is. And like that might be totally different than who you are. And I'm probably going to get to your personal projects. Somebody brought up dress code. It depends on the place you're going. If it's super corporate, button up, but if it's casual, like it's a startup or consultancy, be yourself. It's very important for clients that come that they have like a menagerie or an eclectic group of people that are on their project. If corporate clients, like when we worked with IBM, Like, they don't want to see corporate people. They have those people. They're coming to the design studio to get the out of the box thinking, the out of the box creatures that we are. And we are that, and we need to embrace that. The other thing I look to in interviews from juniors and interns is, how are they shaking? Are they nervous? Because that connotes value. They're showing me that they are super into this place and they know what is on the line. And I know that's just human body language, and we might all be nervous, but I tend to hire those people that are shaking when they hand me their portfolio. I'm like, oh, this shows me that you really care. Like, you care more than anything else. And we've all been there. I've been the shaky one. You guys have been the shaky ones. And I look at these little nuances in the interview as well as the way you're presenting your work. So I think that's another thing that Aaron brought up and others have brought up, is just like, give us that weird thing, because like, that's really what we're all about in this room. We're all industrial designers. Like, if we were normal, we'd be accountants. And so you're with another industrial designer, and they want to know what like that weird thing is. Maybe they're not onto it, and they're like, oh, I need to find out. So be prepared to bring that weirdness and bring that knowledge that is you, and also live the brand. I mean, you might have picked Nest because it was cool and you liked the logo, but I need you to breathe Nest. And that next page, when you flip over and you're Mitsubishi, I need you to breathe that, and ditch your ego. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. No, I love it, man. Thanks again for sharing. And again, just perfectly, it's going right into our next question, which is, we know that a lot of you now are part of the teams that review portfolios coming in. And so I think, having you give us a little bit of insight and telling us, what are like the top 3 things you and your team look for when reviewing portfolios. Like, I think Adam, said it best as well too, in the sense that you want to bring that unique, because you want to have something that definitely stands out, but also that you understand and respect the brand. But from your sense and from your companies and the discussions you have with your team, because most of you have now been part of these discussions, what can you share with the students that would be the top 3 things that they should definitely make sure that those are all buttoned up in their portfolios? And I think with this one, we'll go ahead and start off with, we'll start off with you.
Sure. Yeah. So portfolio specific things that I look for, and I don't actually do any hiring, but I definitely pass along things that I get on LinkedIn, and just random students and people across the world who's like, check out my work. So I think the biggest thing is relevancy. And again, I'm just speaking to what I know, which is the consultancy world. So for us, it's really a fit. It's do they design in the industries we design? A lot of times that's not the case, and it's hard for us to envision someone adapting to what we do, just knowing how those skills translate. The second thing, which Adam touched on beautifully, is brand. This is like, you need to be able to design for a brand. You need to flex, adapt, twist yourself out of your design language, which is what we all started with in school, was designing for ourselves, and demonstrate that you can pick up the subtle cues of a brand, even if all you're working with is 2D graphics or a website. Maybe the company has never produced a product before. How do you translate those notes from a 2D image into a 3D design? And it's tough. It's learned with experience, but the more you can demonstrate at an early level, the better.
Yeah, no, awesome. Jack, we'll have you go next.
From looking at different student portfolios, I would definitely have to say that the first thing I look for is within design itself, is the proportion of how people, proportion their designs and objects. Because as soon as a design is good, but then you apply it to the bad proportion, it's really throws the whole thing off. Because things like that, it shows really how you are as a designer. Naturally, you should be able to just know how to correctly size something, right? And so I think that basic fundamental is something that I think every designer should have. Second thing I look for in portfolio would be cleanliness, because you know, looking at portfolios all the time, it's nice to see some flashy sketches here and there, but at the same time, it needs to make sure that the flow and then the whole feel of portfolio needs to be, somewhat breathable and not so overwhelming. I've seen portfolios where people have like thrown all the sketches they have in there and just to show me what they have, like that's cool. But at the same time, I'm not sure what to look at first. There's so many things coming at me. I want to be able to narrate your work in my own head, in my own way, but still be able to interpret what you're trying to tell me. So in a way, you're supposed to tell me what I'm supposed to, narrate in my head while looking at your work, when you're not there telling me what it is that you wanted me to hear. So the third thing I would say is also, I like to see the whole spectrum of crazy to mild, because I want to make sure that, when you're being pushed, you know how to come up with some really out of the box solutions. But when it comes to production vehicles, then I want to be able to see that, okay, you're able to at least know what is realistic. Because a lot of times what I'm personally going through right now is I was not good at making sure things are realistic in school. And now having to work with engineers and whatnot, it's a little tricky, because it's a lot of like, figuring out like how to make sure something works and still looks good at the same time. Like, for example, I'm trying to bring like the IP down, trying to make it slim on the interior, but then the engineer wants the airbag to be a certain location. So now you have to really try to find like, clever solutions and illusion within your design. And so, yeah, a lot of times it's just got to be like, you need to be able to think crazy and realistic. And that is, I would say very, very important.
Awesome. We'll have Aaron pick it up from there.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Jack, too. I think as a student, too, it's really hard. You don't have those resources necessarily, or that information of like what the engineering specs might be, or, things might be proprietary on how they're made. Like the footwear industry on how things are made is like, it's really hard for students to find any information about how shoes are made. And so I think for me, it's specifically talking to footwear. I think a lot of times students try and make it engineered and miss the mark on that, because it's like, I can show you the engineering specs later. Like we can bring you back in. You're going to miss it regardless, because you don't have the knowledge. So I'd rather see the crazy. And I mean, sure, try one that's more brought in to have that variability is good. I think I'm trying to think like the three things that we might look for. I think process, and not like the process of like, oh, you sketch and you refine, and like not that, but like, what do you do differently in your process that's different than the other 1,000 designers, and how does that get you to a unique solution? I think is really the number one thing that I look for, because I think we're at a point where, this is my philosophy, everyone can sketch. Everyone's been sketching for a long time. Everyone's gone through this, been trained in this same process. I feel like maybe we've hit a barrier of like what you can get with just that like basic process. It's when you like can find something from the outside realm. I don't know what that might be, but like you do paper mache or you whatever, like how do you get to something that's not just the basic like blank piece of paper? That's just my philosophy. And then I would say problem solving and storytelling / aesthetics.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to over talk there, but I think those would be my three things.
Awesome. Ali, we'll see you.
No, he started going into the storytelling, and that's like one of the key things, because I've reviewed some portfolios in my time, as a professional, and one of the common things that I see is that students tend to sketch without a purpose. Like they sketch a proportion, for instance, and they do all these different views and they try all these different things, but like there's not a real purpose to what they're going after. And then they just show a rendering and then, okay, why, So that's what Aaron was talking about, where he was talking about story. There should be a story. Are you connecting with the brand? Are you capturing the brand? What are you bringing to the table for this brand? What are you trying to show me with your story? And that I think is one of the main important things. And sketching ability, obviously, that's a given. Like to reiterate what Aaron said, everybody should know how to sketch. If a professional is reviewing your portfolio, should be at a level where you are visually communicating, effectively. Your proportions correct, your perspective is correct, your shading is correct, your light source, all that stuff that Antonio drilled into your mind, and Tom, that are drilling into your mind, like that, it should just be natural, right? So so sketching ability, storytelling, and then the third thing would be just having a clean and concise portfolio that speaks to who you are and what you're going to bring to the table with a variety of different designs. So I think those are the three things that I would put emphasis on when looking at a student's portfolio.
Yeah. Again, these are all great things. It's a little heartwarming to hear that, a lot of the stuff that we discussed when you all were students is something that you all still see value in. I know Tom, for the longest, even when I was a student, I remember he would always tell us, what's the story behind this? Tell me a story, give me a hero's journey of this product. And a lot of times, like Ali, to your point, it's just like, well, I just made a hot sketch. What do you mean I have to put a story behind it?
Yeah, why?
I'm dropping the pen. Like it's done. Look at it. Don't you want it? And it's like, no, that's not what design is. It's not about like Tom would tell us. It's not about self-expression. It's about meeting a goal. It's about meeting an objective. And I think, again, if students can remember that, I think that would be great. Remember, at the end of the day, your portfolio should be able to talk for you without you being in the room. And I think that's one thing that sometimes we forget. We feel like, the portfolio comes with us, or we're coming with the portfolio along for every step of the process, but that's not the case. So I think, again, you all have given great insights on things that they should prepare for and things they should have in their portfolio and how to lay out the portfolio. Because I know that's also the big thing. It's like, I think students sometimes feel that there's a wrong way and a right way to lay out a portfolio. And, the truth of the matter is the right way is what's best for that, to showcase the story of that project. It's not, it has to have this many sketches, this many mock-ups, this many inspiration images. Like that's not what a portfolio is. That's not what showing the process is. As
quality over quantity.
What was that?
Quality over quantity. You always used to say.
Exactly. And again, show that part of the process that you're looking at it from an angle and a perspective that no one else is looking at it from, and then bring that to the table and show that. And so again, great words of advice here. We'll move on to our last question, and again,
just one thing to that.
Yeah, Adam, by all means.
Your hobbies. That I find I've hired more designers because of their hobbies. Like a perfect example, when I'm principal at Steelcase, there was a young woman who her sketching was okay. Her portfolio was kind of lackluster. There was only 2 projects in there. But then her hobby was wood whittling. And like, I was like, who whittles? And she was a competitive wood whittler. And like the amount of wood whittling that was in there, even saying it is difficult. And then at the end of the interview, she said, "We want to thank us for our time and all that." And we actually called her in because of that. Like the rest was like, okay, it was like, you clearly you weren't trained as an industrial designer. You were clearly more focused on the woodworking thing. And at post interview, she sent us a thank you with a whittled owl, and just think, just that the we
That's
picked
awesome.
up on that, and it was a funny little hobby. And another young woman that I hired, her hobby was just building objects, like random things. And I find that, and I mean random, like weird things like Aaron brought about. It's like, how do you bring that element in that nobody else is thinking about? And it's just like she was able to glue things together that were more abstract than they were actual production objects. And that showed a lot of just like, this is my life. I like making, and you breathe that, versus like, I've seen so many digital portfolios, digital. And you're like, you guys could probably say it. You've seen 1,000 of these come through. And it's not until you see something that's like real. It's like, it's so amazing now to say that I look forward to those real things. When I was at school, like Tom and these guys were like, you be making quarter scale models. I need to see a wall full of like physical things, like get out of the computer. And I think there's an old adage that like the computer is a light bright for bad ideas. Like you can make something look epic and gorgeous, and then you make it in real life and it's pure trash.
Man, we're making a lot of quotes here.
Sorry.
Right, for bad ideas. Man, we need to get on this.
Got to start making some t-shirts.
I know. Adam's on fire with the quotes today. I love it.
So I mean, just highlight your hobbies. Highlight who you are as a maker, because that's what we all are. When we make things, we are the dreamers of the dreams.
Yep. So with that said, I mean, that again, perfectly. I mean, you're like a mind reader here, Adam. Segue right into the next question which is, what can you recommend? What can students start doing now to better prepare them for that time that's coming for them, which is again, launching themselves into the industry, launching themselves into the career. I mean, they all chose to come to this program as industrial designers because they're passionate about creating, about improving the world around them. As cliche as it sounds, it's true. That's what we do. That's our daily job. So what can you best recommend? Like, what's your call of action to the students today? Like right now, what should they start doing?
Well,
Adam, I'll have you start.
Here I'm going to say start stitching.
No. Aaron, we'll talk about his stitching later. We'll have Adam kick us off on this one.
I'm just going to say, eat, breathe this. Like, this is going to be your life. Design asks for everything and it'll take everything. So be prepared to give everything. Do not step up to this thinking you're going to be 9 to 5, because that is just the mindset that will not work. And your colleagues around you, you'll come in and they're light years ahead because they didn't sleep, because they're so breathing this. You guys are up against a huge wall of people that are passionate. So breathe this, eat this, sleep this, dream this.
Another shirt, baby. We're making them back to back. I think we're on to sweaters at this point.
Well, I'm still sweating it every day. But that keeps me young, though.
Exactly. Jack, we'll have you follow up. Let's see if we can get a t-shirt quote out of you as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Make sure it's like tight and fitted, right?
Exactly. Little medium action.
Yeah, exactly.
Medium, yeah.
So, you ready? Be prepared to hate your job, because with everything that you love, there's always like a factor of hate to it. It's gonna make you mad. It's gonna make you so annoyed. It's gonna make you second guess yourself. But that's just like the roller coaster that you go through, emotionally as a designer. It's like, when you hit these spots where you're just not motivated, where you're just like very frustrated with either politics or problems with your that, they're trying to find a solution for. So, all of those things are what's gonna make you a better designer overall, because if everything's all like fine and dandy, then that's not gonna allow you to grow. So I would say, yes, you love your job right now, your future job, but leave some room for that hate. So, being realistic here.
I like it. Antagonist over here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would swap out the word hate for enjoy the struggle. Enjoy the struggle.
At least positive demeanor comes through again.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the struggle, because, like Jack said, it is a
we cannot
roller
teach
coaster.
that one. We couldn't teach that in reality in a school. So that's great. You learn it in the real world.
Yeah.
I hate you guys for not teaching us that.
It's something you can't teach. Yeah, like Tom said, that kind of took me by surprise. I've had some letdowns, but you got to pick yourself back up and go power forward is stronger the next time, and I think I'm just going to take over and just, go into answer the question now. Yeah. So preparing yourself, I think short-term goal right now, call to action, is land that internship. You need that internship. You need to get your foot in the door, and you need to become a sponge. You need to absorb everything that you can from your environment. When you're at these internships, you'll get a real taste of what working there working at a company is like, and not only what you're doing, but the culture of that company. Is it a right fit for you? For instance, I had the opportunity to intern at Ford, and then I had the opportunity to intern at FCA, or Stellantis now, right? And at first, wet behind the ears going into Ford, I didn't really know what to look for. And I was just absorbing, doing the work, went through it, enjoyed it. But then I realized how much I didn't enjoy that company when I had my second internship. So gaining multiple internships, I know that sounds like a feat, but if you can land more than one, it's a very eye-opening to your situation, because you want to be happy where you work. You want to be happy going into work every day, So I think that would be my call to action, is land that internship, make your portfolio the best that it can be. And I know that's like a loaded statement, because it takes time to make it the best that it can be. But land that internship.
I like it. So yeah, we'll have you take a swing at this.
Yeah, I love what Ollie says just about gaining perspective. That's cool. Just about like trying out different things, trying to get different internships. Super important to understand different teams, different companies, different cultures. What I would say, one big piece of advice is don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't ignore the parts of design you don't like or don't think you're good enough at when you're in school. If all you do is sketch and never get good at CAD or render or any of that, and then you get a job sketching 15 hours a day and absolutely hate it, and now you can't go explore anything else, you kind of just ended your own career before it even started. So try everything, put the work in while you're a student, while you have hours in the day, hours at night to do it. Push yourself to try things that maybe don't seem like they're right for you. And if at the end of the day, you still hate it, that's fine, but give it your all at each element of design. Just be 100% sure, before you end up choosing a direction, if you even have to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's awesome. It's, really understanding the whole process and not just the parts that you're naturally good at. It's always easy, even when we're designing something, we tend to fall back on the forms and the graphics that we like, and that's where you have to push yourself to get yourself out of that and make sure you're challenging yourself and really, again, putting your skill sets to the test by getting out of your own comfort zone. And so I think it's, again, really, really good advice to give to the students. Aaron, I'll have you wrap us up here on this question.
Yeah, I really like what everyone said about just trying things. I think that's what it's all about, really, is that openness to learn something new. If you have a question about something, go figure it out. If you have a question about an industry, a job, whatever, just find a way to answer those questions for yourself. Nice shoes, Tom.
I saw that too.
I would say from like a attitude and longevity, mental health, if you will, of like, just don't burn yourself out. Like, be focused, work hard, but avoid the burnout if you can. And that's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of mental fortitude. You will at some point, but I think burnout is one of those things that it's not like you go for vacation for a weekend and you're good and you're like back to full tank. Burnout's like you're done for a year type of thing. It can be really, really draining. So just always, I would say, just like check in with yourself, be really self-reflective while you have this time where, you know, hopefully your 40 hours a week or whatever you want to say, your focus is your school and your career, and your 20 hours is your hobby, or however you want to break that down. But once you get that job, it's the opposite, and your time is on the work, and you don't get as much time to explore and maybe reflect on how you want to direct your career and the things you want to do during your day-to-day. So use that time not wisely, but maybe wisely. I don't know, have some fun with it too. You know, just try stuff, because it's a lot harder when you get that job and your priorities. You got to start paying your loans back. You got to find a place to rent. You know, all this stuff starts to change your attitude and your perspective and the things you need to focus on.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's, again, all great advice. You know, call to action. Get started on it today too. You know, I think also one of the biggest things is sometimes you feel like you need a few other things to get into place before you can take your next step. But you have to remind yourself that it's better to take a small step now than, you know, to build this mountain around yourself, to launch yourself forward, you know, 5 years from now, when things around you may have shifted. At that point, you may not even be landing where you wanted to. So again, taking those small steps. You know, one thing that I can reflect on is what Aaron also had mentioned about just breaking up some of the goals into smaller goals and just setting yourself up for like 6 months, a year, 3 months. I remember Tom used to have us do that as well too, right? It's like, what's your goal for the day today? What's your goal for the week? What's your goal for the month, 3 months? And that allows you to, you know, gain perspective on what you're doing overall. Because a lot of times when we have these giant goals ahead of us, it sometimes can be overwhelming to think like, oh my God, I have all this work to do still in order to get to that. But if you break it up into segments that you can create a quick punch list, and you seeing yourself crossing those things off that list is a big motivator to keep you going. Another thing, you know, that was talking about burnout, again, it's real. I think a lot of times, you know, we try our best to understand everything around us so that we can become better designers for other people. But sometimes, again, just turning that the way that you're evaluating things around you inward, and kind of evaluating yourself and what you need, reminding yourself that you know, your mind is again, it's definitely a big ball of energy and a big ball of potential, but you need to inspire it by actually exposing it to new things and new and creative things. You can't expect your mind to be super creative when you put it in front of a computer for just 24 hours straight. You know, that's not going to happen. You need to go out there and experience it, and and remind your mind like, this is why we do this, because of these moments. So again, I think those are all really those are all really good points. And again, start today. You don't need to wait till tomorrow. Set up your punch list right now. You know you have some deliverables for Spring Show, May 20th. Again, I hope to see you all there. You know, we're going to give away over $20,000 in Spring Show. This is going to be the most amount of money we've ever given away to students in forms of scholarships. Get at it. Wake up. This is the time. And you're going to
grab that money.
How about alumni scholarships?
I knew that was coming. I saw that eye go up. Adam's like, yeah, for sure. Let's have some fun here. No, I mean, seriously, and it's something that, you know, the team, the industrial design team, we work hard for all these things for you. You know, this is our way to give back to all of you and to motivate you that, you know, we want you to go out there and make a big impact. You know, we want you to, in 5 years from now, come back and sit at one of these events, you know, helping us nurture the next generation of talent. You know, that's what we want. So again, with that said, you know, don't wait for tomorrow. Start taking those actions now. And again, I think it's great for them to have heard it, not just from me, from Tom, from Hideki, from Lloyd. It's great that they're hearing it from you directly, because obviously you now are the voice of the industry. You're also the voice of the alumni who've gone through the program, and you know what it takes to get there. So with that said, you know, I know the students have kind of been quiet, and you know, I'm going to start off the Q&A session here, where, you know, we do have 2 questions to just kind of get things started, but I want to see some of the students now. Turn on your camera, ask your question. So I'll get started with, again, just want to kind of get the gears going. And then from there, you know, again, we can hand it off to the student and have you be able to ask your questions and interact. I mean, you rarely get a chance to be able to talk to the people that are working in the industry, you know, directly, and alumni that have gone through your program that you're going through right now, directly one-on-one. So, you know, let's take advantage of this opportunity. So my first question here is going to be, how has your workflow adapted to working remotely? And maybe even just going to, like, what have you learned the most this past year, and being, you know, for a lot of us, being forced to work remotely. Let's see, Jack, I'll have you start.
So one thing that I've adapted myself to the whole remotely, you know, working from home thing is definitely my rendering style, my sketching style, because at first, you know, I didn't have all the equipment I have at work with me at home. So what I had to do is start rendering with the mouse pad on my laptop. And that really pushed me to start, you know, exploring with different ways of producing my work. And at first it was very awkward, but over time it really got, you know, very, very, I don't know, interesting, because it made me think in different ways, like just like how when you sketch with a pen and pencil, it really makes you do your work differently. So, you know, I think I'm pretty grateful for the fact that it kind of forced me to work in a different way and make things work. Because now I think, you know, I just gained a new, I guess, set of skill that I normally wouldn't have thought about doing. So, you know, just be flexible.
Awesome. Yo, we'll have you go next.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say learning to adapt is the biggest challenge. Just not being in the studio every day. Didn't think I'd go back to doing foam core in my living room, but here we are. So it's fun. I don't know. I think you just have to learn to enjoy it. A big part of it's just staying with communication amongst coworkers, for the students. Talk to your peers. You know, unfortunately, you don't have the chance to be next to each other every day, but there's so much to learn from one another. You all come from extremely different backgrounds, and that's a really big part about being a student in an ID, because you're gaining perspective. You're learning from one another. You're understanding how one person's approach might be different than another, and adapting your own accordingly. So that's been big for us. Mental health checks are really big. Just talk to people, right? Have those conversations that you'd have just walking by in the hallway. Stay in touch with each other.
Yeah, no, awesome. Ali?
Yeah, I just want to say first off, I absolutely love working from home. It's the best thing that ever happened. Not that I don't like being in the studio, but I say that because, I found myself being stuck in this routine, like get up at the same time, drive to work, go in, spend a certain amount of time there, and like go on the coffee break at the same time. So that like robotic routine has now been broken. And like, it's brought a lot of mental health, back into my life. Like I feel better because I'm doing everything on my own terms. So I stay in communication with my team. We have daily meetings, but like I said, everything's on my time. I'm sketching, I can go downstairs, make coffee real quick, like I just feel like I'm free. And I feel like I've been more productive because of it, workflow wise, we're just introducing, Gravity Sketch into our, workflow. And it's awesome because now we can have meetings virtually in the same space, but I still have to go in every once in a while to work on clay and things like that. But it's been great. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Awesome. Aaron?
Yeah, I would say it's been a nice way to learn more about how I like to work. Luckily, I had a boss. My very first boss gave me that advice of find out like when are you most creative, when are you not, kind of. And I found out like in the morning, first thing, I'm creative. Then there's like pre-lunch, post-lunch, nothing. And then like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock,
True.
I'm creative. And luckily I found that at my first internship, but being like work from home is I get to figure it out even more of, like Ali said, on my own time of, hey, I can go for a run for 30 minutes or take a walk, or as long as my work's getting done, I get to design my day, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that's really awesome. And I don't want to, I'm the same as Ali. Like, I don't want to go back. Even some like flexible, like you go in 3 days, you stay home 2, that I don't know. I'm wishful thinking here because they just spent $1 billion on a campus extension. So, but I think workflow has just really improved, and I've gotten to learn. Like maybe it could show you don't like to do something and you don't like a process. Like I don't like going to a lot of meetings, but I'm in a huge corporation. Like maybe it's not the fit for you. Like you get to learn.
Yeah.
Adapt.
Adam, we'll have you wrap it up.
I think we touched a little bit on everything. I would say what's improved for me is the workflow. I'm creative at like 10 o'clock to 3 a.m. And that's not when the studio is open. Like you could be there.
Should be on the team then. We have maximum creativity there.
Yeah, I would love you guys to be there, but I also, this isolation and being an introvert, and most of us are introverts, and we like just to create things, and we get value through objects in which you admire. But the digital realm, I work in 3D printed world, and so having a 3D printer, it's like the same thing. It's like I could be at the studio and the culture's there, but I make the culture with my team every morning. Like we sit on Zoom, we just have the cameras on. We're like, who cares what's happening? Let's have an hour and a half, 3 hour just session to kind of keep that vibe of we are together in this. Yeah. And it's just like, who cares about the afternoon? I'll see you at 3 a.m. And then part of my team was in India. So because she went back. She's like, I could work anywhere, and you can work anywhere. So I was like, yeah, go, please. And then, I'll just adjust my schedule, which, as you heard, it's really night owl. So it works for other countries.
Awesome. All right. So now I'm going to pick on students because they're not raising their hands. So Wayne, turn on your camera, ask your question. What now's your time.
Hi, how's it going? Sorry, I don't actually have
Wayne.
a camera right now, but I did actually have a question. I wrote it down. Any advice for students who have decided to go back to school to change careers? I originally started as a game designer back in 2012 and decided that I wanted to go back to school in order to study industrial design.
I would say
Take it.
go for it. I can speak from experience because at first I went to school for graphic design for 5 years, and I was still not happy about that because my passion was still cars. So, of course, with all things, starting over is not easy. And just to be able to admit to yourself, okay, I'm starting everything over, it's definitely not easy. But once you're sure that this is what you want to do and you achieve it, it's definitely very, very rewarding, because then you're not going to, live on the rest of your life thinking about what ifs, what ifs. And then, think about this, like the years you're going to be spending regretting yourself, not, starting over, whether it's good or bad, whether, you decided to get a job in that field or not, it doesn't matter, because all that time could be used, all the time using for regretting could be used to just get, into action, get things started, and then just see where you're at in life. Because, it took me pretty much 10 years to get to car design, right? And then I still don't think that it was that bad of a decision on my behalf. I now don't have to, have sleepless nights thinking about what if I had gone to car design school. So I think if you have any second thoughts on doing something, or if you want, have any curiosity, just go for it.
Yeah, and just to jump in on that, it's kind of what Jack's saying is like, follow your heart, and you're not on a time limit, if you could pay for it, for sure, follow your dreams, I would go after it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right. Luke, see you have your camera on, you're ready to rock. What's your question?
I can't not, man. Hey, everyone. What is something that was surprising to you once you entered the career, just something that totally you were not expecting, or was like way more awesome or less awesome than expecting?
How much? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say how much operations and engineers picks up the slack for us as industrial designers. Like, they step up and they come up with ideas and they align manufacturing a lot quicker than you even could think about, especially as juniors. You have no idea. And they just, I have to say that was the most surprising and encouraging element of the early years, is the teams that were there to support you.
You're lucky.
Yeah. Great engineers.
It's usually a war.
Yeah, it's usually a war.
It's part of the skill to find a good engineer, work with you creatively. That's the guy you have to find.
Yeah.
Just bring them a box of donuts,
Aaron, anything to add to that question?
Yeah, I would say two things, good, and then maybe take it what you want. Good, I think, is, at Nike, there's 1,000 designers. It's insane. And the lucky thing, I think, is I've reached out to a lot of people, and everyone's super nice. Everyone meets with you. They spend an hour with you, tell you what they're doing. They'll give you feedback. You meet a lot of really cool people, really insanely talented people. And I think that's just surprising for me in general. Like, being more of a quiet person, I'm always scared to ask people for their time. Literally everyone I talk to, it didn't matter if it's Nike or wherever, has always given me a lot of time. And so I think that's pretty cool. The second surprising thing is, someone said this to me before, maybe about a year ago, is that it's not about the coolest design or the best design. It's about, can the design last through 18 months? It takes 18 months to make a shoe. 18 months of constant criticism. And I think that's a really surprising thing, is it's, that's just a really weird world for me. Like, that's surprising.
Our industry is about 5 years. You have to go through that.
Someone's
We're bored of your
for
theme.
5 years.
Yep.
Well, yeah, you think about, the time it takes to develop, and then the time it has to be on the marketplace. And yeah, I mean, sometimes you run into a decade there. So would you like to add to this as well too? What are some of the things that surprised you once you joined the ranks?
I think the biggest thing that surprised me was understanding how bad my workflow was and how slow I was compared to like everyone else, which is something that changes. Like, I think the first year you work at a new company is the one you grow the most at, and you still keep growing, but probably not as much as that first year, because you're asking questions that other students in school, right? Your peers just don't know the answers to. They don't have the experience. So especially in computer programs and CAD and render, just speeding everything up, being able to spend time where you want to and not where you're just needing to learn or needing to figure things out. That was the biggest for me, and just asking questions. People are so open. Like Aaron said, like, everyone wants to help each other. It's not a competitive atmosphere. And if it is, it's probably not the company you want to be at, unless you like that competitiveness and thrive off it in some weird way. But yeah, ask questions as soon as you start out somewhere, because everyone was in your spot at one time. So they know what it's like to come in somewhere new where everyone has a certain way of working. Maybe a company has a workflow that's totally different to you, and just pick that up as soon as you can. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Destiny, thank you for joining us. We'll have you ask the next question, please.
Okay, cool. I'm traveling, so my background is set as my dog's picture. I can't get it off my phone. So
no worries.
Just bear with me.
As long as you got a duck, you're good.
Okay, cool. I have kind of a bit of an anecdote and then a question tacked onto the back of that. I started industrial design for footwear, and then I'm going in to get my master's degree for industrial design, and my bachelor's is in mechanical engineering. And I was like really passionate about going straight for Nike. I had an opportunity with them and it fell through, and it really kind of demolished my hopes through Nike. And then going into drawing one, because I'm at the very beginning of this master's program, I'm not fantastic at drawing, and it's not like a real passion of mine. I'm really good at CAD, and I'm good at like problem solving and the engineering part of design, but the artist part really isn't catching up with me. So I guess my main question for you guys is, how do you find that passion, that's something that you like, but also are very good at?
I would say go at what you're weak at. Beat it until you're not weak at it anymore. That's like, if you're not good at sketching, you just sketch all day long. If you're good at CAD, you know you're good at CAD. You know you're good at the presentations. You know you're good at laying out all that. What you're weak at, you attack like you're going after a dragon. Like, do not stop. And to everybody's earlier comment about what we look at a portfolio, you don't have to have 1,000 sketches, but you have to have that one or two that convey that idea. So go where you're weak. If you're weak at CAD, I think Yale brought that up. Like, you're just a sketch monkey. You're going to be stuck in the corner sketching all the time, and you're going to hate your life. Go at the places that you're weak and excel.
Panel, anything to add?
Yeah, you did mention like how did you find, or you asked how did you find your passion? Like when you're working, what are you happy when you're doing it? Like when you're working on something, where are you happiest? I'm going to pose a question to you now, just so I can lead up with the answer.
I think it's just finding a problem and being able to solve it. It's my favorite part. It's finding an innovative solution.
Okay. Cool. And you achieve that. You try to achieve that with sketching, though. Is that what you're saying? And you're just not good at it right now?
No, I mean, like I've never been really good at art my entire life. But I really liked the idea of doing industrial design to create things to help people and to find a better solution to things. And engineering was just far too boring for me. And so going into industrial design, I had no sketching skills whatsoever, and I'm in drawing one, and it's a lot. And I don't really enjoy it, but I'm doing a lot of it.
Yeah, so from what I hear, you have a creative spirit, which is I think the first thing for the passion for design, right? You have to have a creative spirit. So you definitely have that. I'm just gonna kind of reiterate what Adam's saying, is attack it, make it a personal goal to get better, and just keep sketching. You're only as good as your worst sketch or your last sketch or so keep going.
I got out of one thing here. I was an engineering student before I switched to industrial design, and a lot of creative people around me. And I said, I got to do something about this. I can come up with a great idea, producible, whatever, reasonable. I can do that better than anybody. But at the end of the semester, those crazy guys around me come up with a spectacular design that I just couldn't beat them. So I had to find a way. So I engineer the creativity. If you're good at engineering and I identifying and analyzing it, so you created it. I fabricated the creativity better than anybody else. So I can beat everybody with that. So that's what I did. Natural creativity is one thing, but industrial design, you have a target to meet. So if you know the target and if you know the tools to get there, you create the creativity better than anybody else, and your idea will be picked every time. Yeah, so don't be, feel like weakness, but you have to find a way to find all the things you have to be creative to beat the others.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a struggle because like my even my drawing instructor, Melvin Dominguez, he'll be like, you have it, it's too organized. You need to mix it up. And I'm like, I am trying, man. I'm really trying. I don't understand composition or any of this stuff. I'm really trying. Yeah. But he's really great. He's really helping me out.
You should turn it around on him, saying that it's his fault that you're not being able to draw.
He's not even going to defend himself. I wouldn't give him that.
I just want to add that just think about this. Even if you're bad at drawing, I think you're just that much better at drawing than other engineers who don't draw. And what helps a lot is in a studio when engineers, they know about design. And because then you're able to speak a different language that's not just straight lines. And that really helps at the end of the day, because you will definitely get a lot of brownie points and respect from the designers if you know their language, especially when the designer knows that an engineer is actually on their side trying to fight for their more progressive ideas, whereas the rest of the engineers, typically they like to stay where they're comfortable and safe. They try to resist our unusual requests. So I think what you're going, the path you're going down is really good. And I've seen people where they just didn't get the groove of being able to sketch in the first few years, right? They had to take sketching classes once or even twice. But now they're after a while, now that they're professionals, they actually are pretty damn good. So I think, you're still at that growth spur where everyone's growing at a different pace. And I think you're just going to take some time to find your own groove.
Just think of it this way. You're an engineer. And I mean, how many years did it take you to really get that great at math to be a good engineer? Right? It took foundation from pretty much elementary school, right? And right now you're learning a new language. You're learning the language of being able to visually communicate your ideas. So like any new language, when you first start off, it's very strange. It's very weird. It's unorthodox because you're not used to conveying your ideas in this format. One thing that helped me, when I did transition from being a mechanical engineer to become an industrial designer, was that I started looking at the piece of paper as a window instead of a two-dimensional plane in front of me. And once I started doing that, then I was able to then sketch, because in my mind, I know exactly what I wanted, what it needed to look like. It was just translating that to a piece of paper. But once you start understanding perspective theory, which I know Melvin's covering right now, and just see the piece of paper as a window into your idea, a window into your thoughts, then that'll pretty much design itself in front of you. It's pretty weird, but it happens. And it happens through practice, though. It's not going to happen from you thinking about it. It's going to happen from you doing it. And start off with something simple, a pure, clean form, and go from there.
Didn't you always used to say it takes 10,000 hours?
Well, that's the theory, right? Obviously, in some cases it takes more, and that's fine. As long as you're passionate about it, you're having fun, great. But I mean, the idea is for us to get to that point. I mean, at the end of the day, like what Tom says, it's like, we're here to solve a target. Like we're given a target, we're solving an objective. That's our main goal. I think sometimes we can fall in love with the process, and I think we're all guilty of it. We can noodle a sketch to death because we love it. It's looking great. It's awesome. You just want to stay on that sketch and not let it go. But you have to step back and say, well, wait a minute. What am I trying to achieve here? My goal is not going to be to sell the sketch. It's going to be to sell the idea. So I got to focus on that. So again, just remember, it's like learning a new language. Have fun with it. Practice it often. Practice it a lot. Buy yourself a small sketchbook. That way you can take it with you at all times. And even, like you say, you're traveling right now, you can just doodle away in your free time. And draw everything and anything. A lot of times too, you think as an industrial designer that you have to draw everything that looks manufactured and man-made. I mean, some of the best and most fun stuff to draw is organic things, just the world around you. And you have references. I always say the hand's always the perfect one, just because, you make a fist, there's your cube, you have your cylinder in front of you, you have bounce light, you have shadow, everything is here, right? So, yeah, Tom's making fun of me because I always do my X, Y, Z. So I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're about 10 minutes over, so let's wrap it up with the last question. Cedric, let's see, Tiffany, Ramel, Jamie, any last questions here before we all sign off?
Yeah, I'll jump in on this.
Awesome.
Hey, hello everybody. Thanks again for coming up and voicing out your past experiences, and it was very, very, very helpful. I would like to say I'm a little bit of age right now. I kind of switched professions. A quick background on myself. I was a developer over at DC Shoes, a footwear developer. Had aspirations on coming up to the Pacific Northwest to join the Nike team. However, I found out it was extremely difficult to get in there. So decided to switch professions as development, and started going into designing because I ended up finding myself sketching all the time. So I guess from my point of view is there any advice that I can do not feel so discouraged, because I feel like I'm battling a lot of younger talent out there where I shouldn't feel like I'm getting too old to try to be a part of the Nike team, but that has always been my ultimate goal. I got that skateboarding background and wanted to be a part of the Nike SB team, but now that I find myself running a lot, I'm taking more interest into more aesthetic shoes of running, and that's where the whole design thing kicked in. And I did my time in San Francisco, and I'm very aware of the reputation of the academy. This is exactly why I chose to get a degree from you guys. And yeah, it's great to hear all this information, because to this very day, I'm still out there applying and trying to push myself out there, trying to get noticed by some people. I got people that from DC that are now working over there, which are, they're giving me advice as well. And, not trying to backdoor anything to me, but going through the right proper channels with HR and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just, I just feel like I'm getting discouraged every time because this has been going on for a constant 5 to 6 years now.
Antonio, do you mind if I jump in here to you?
No, Adam, by all means.
So I came into the Academy of Art as a second degree. I've spent 8 years in UI UX back in coding Java, JavaScript, and worked my way up through Netscape as a startup into Sun Microsystems, and then was a startup at Leapfrog Educational Toys. And that's where I started to get into development, physical product. And I fell in love with it. And then I jumped over to the Academy of Art. And I was like a designer store showing up at the Academy of Art. Like everybody was much younger. And Antonio could testify the same with Tom. I was kind of an outsider. And that's a good thing. That is a great thing because you're going to push yourself harder. And I don't know, have you graduated or are you still in the program?
I just made the decision and jumped into the program. So
okay.
Yeah,
so I would say just stay at it and leverage this program management level of understanding that none of these junior designers have, none of these people have. I would consider you for management quicker than I would for a junior design position. And then once you're in management position, and probably every one of these designers here hates me for saying this, but I'm a principal, I've been a director, I'll come in with a shit sketch and be like, we're doing this. And all of them are like, yeah, okay, we're going to do this because it's the quickest thing to do. So I know you guys hate me.
It's fine. That's fine.
A ton of times. And so you're going to leapfrog past this. Don't go for the junior roles. I never did. I came out of the Academy of Art and I landed as a lead, as a senior role because I leveraged my experience. I said, look, I have 8 years of product development experience. Like all these juniors have 0. So let me prove myself. And I proved myself and I was able to do that in the furniture and lighting industry. So leverage that. This is, you are in a perfect position and very harkens to my heart in that. And I'm sorry, guys, I just want to say, don't get discouraged. I got turned down more for junior roles until I looked for senior roles. And then boom, all of a sudden the doors start opening.
Yeah, you don't need to be a best sketcher in a world, but you have an entry ticket. There are a certain level to enter. Once you enter, your background will pull you through a much bigger, better way than you think. But you just got to that first entry ticket.
Good.
Yeah, so it's kind of like you have to take the Ali perspective on this one instead of Jack's, right? Like, don't hate it. It's find out how you can love it, how you can come to love it. Right? Well,
yeah.
Right, Ali? Yeah. We got that
shirt. Right, yeah. It hurt my heart a little bit when you said you was getting discouraged, man. I want to come give you a hug, man.
It was a long road to get where I'm at now, and I tried using my experience as in footwear development just to get my foot in the door, and apparently, I was hitting walls left and right, and and still that didn't discourage me. Like I said, I was still sketching shoes, trying to sketch new designs that are coming up because I do my own R&D research at the malls, looking at the latest trends and stuff. And I got a whole book of sketches on it, and thank God I'm part of this class to learn how to actually sketch them on the tablet.
Just one more note: do not get pigeonholed. I came in the Academy of Art wanting to make toys, and I think Tom smacked me around and said, "What are you doing?" And like I'm now more patented in consumer electronics and furniture and 3D printing than anything. And like if I had pigeoned myself just to work for Mattel, just for all this opportunity would have left. And I think as industrial designers, we have the opportunity to make anything. So be open to anything and that door. I mean, we're all passionate about shoes. We're all passionate about transportation. This is the sexy stuff. But let me tell you, there's 1,000, if not 1,000,000 other roles where you're making, packs, you're making backpacks, you're making other things. So just fall in love with making something. Fall in love with this process. And as Tom said, it'll open up to whatever solution that is needed by these organizations. So do not pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see that the more that I'm taking these classes, learning how to draw, learning how to sketch, and doing all kinds of perspective views on my drawings. It's I'm starting to see more than just shoes. There's more other things that you can design and create, and I'm really glad that I'm a part of this program.
I also want to add that it's also a mindset thing. I personally wouldn't see it as like a start over for you, more like an additional, skill set that you've added to your whole, experience. So in a
Continual
way,
growth.
you're looking at, you can pretty much look at everyone around you and be like, okay, I have more experience, like Adam said. And, it's just, if you do get back into the shoe game, just promise you do not design any more of those dad shoes. I'm tired of looking at those. There's chunky little shoes on these skinny people. It's like, no more, man. Proportions, everything, that's off.
Jack.
It's a trend, I guess. Yeah, and
You know all marshmallows on your feet? What's wrong with that? And
Great.
I see you unmuted yourself. I'm sure you're ready to drop some knowledge.
No, I just wanted to mention, Romel, you're doing very well, so keep going.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'm trying my best with that. These cast shadows are killing me. But
Yeah.
thank you.
And Ramel, I mean, remember, you have a team, you have a community. This is family, man. This is your family right now. And again, it's going to grow and it's going to expand as you move through the program. And remember, you're not doing this on your own. It's, right. I mean, I think that's one thing that a lot of the panelists spoke to today. Is like, make a network, reach out to people. It sounds like you already have some connections also, which is helpful, but make new connections.
Yeah, but through the academy, yeah, I've already talked with career services, talked with especially going back and forth with Hideki twice a week. So and then with Agota with the CAD drawings and stuff. So yeah, constantly on that, trying to do Zoom calls with the instructors and stuff. So
yeah, and we have great examples of a lot of students, or a lot of students who started out, started out the program much later into their careers already, and they come to us with the same concerns you do, and I think Tom said it best. It's like, as long as your ideas are fresh, we don't care. No one's gonna care. You have the freshest portfolio, you're gonna get picked. Right. And that's what you have to look at it. And now, again, like Adam said, you're already, in the running for a role of management, coming in, because you have the skill sets, but you also have, the understanding of how to deal and manage people, which is a big bonus. A lot of young designers don't have that. I mean, they can barely manage their own time, right? Now you got a little manage the team. So,
no, I was there one time. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all were, but that's why, instead of like, seeing it from the disposition as a negative, it's like, this is a strength that you have. Now you're just building on the strength, like Ali was saying.
Yeah, and that's what kind of tipped me over to do this, to become an industrial designer. So yeah, I'm trying to take a different tangent to get to where I need to go. But this is a great program, and appreciate everything you guys have been voicing out. And it's glad to know that, you guys got my back. So
we got you. And again, stay engaged for sure. Yeah, stay engaged. Absolutely. Don't go away. Make appointments, make meetings. It sounds like you're already, working well with Hideki and your other instructors. So keep that going, and, feel free to engage the rest of us. And, that you can connect with all the panelists right now on LinkedIn and hit them up, just like we had them hit up their former alumni before they came. So it's the cycle continues, and this is what it's about.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Get that LinkedIn network going.
Awesome. Well, again, we're way over. It's always a lot of fun. I can keep going, for another hour, quite frankly, because we have a lot to cover. But again, just being mindful of everyone's time. I really just want to thank the panelists today. Ali, Yael, Aaron, Jack, and our bonus, Adam Kundu.
Jack and Ali's are 3 hours ahead of us. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
It's
bedtime. Jack's falling asleep.
Jack's an old man dad over there.
Dude, I still have work to do. I'm serious, man. It's crazy.
I really appreciate your time tonight. I want to thank you all again, and cordially invite you all for Spring Show, May 20th. It's going to be a big event. We're really looking forward to having everyone there. And once again, thank you so much for giving back, Really appreciate it. I hope that this serves as motivation to the students that were attending today, and also to the students that are going to be watching the recording of this. So, once again, thank you so much for your time. And again, feel free to stay engaged. We love hearing from you all. And if you need anything from us as well, too, just remember, we're here as well. We're always happy to help. We're always happy to engage, with any activities that you feel may be a good fit for us in the school. So with that said, good night, everyone. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the semester. And again, to our panelists, again, a deep thank you for all of you.
Yeah, thank you all. This was great. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone. You guys.
Peace.